A retired schoolteacher sits at her kitchen table with a laptop open in front of her. A window appears on the screen. Red border, an alarm noise, a message telling her the machine is compromised, that everything on it will be wiped within minutes, and a phone number to ring immediately. She calls it. 2 hours later, every account she has access to is empty. Her savings, her pension, and $2 million belonging to a charity that pays for other people's children to eat. The men who did it are already on to the next call. They run this 40 times a day. To them, she was a name on a list and a number on a whiteboard, and by tonight, they will not remember she existed. They have no idea who rents the barn behind her house. Her name is Eloise Parker. She lives by herself on a quiet piece of land in rural Massachusetts. She spent her working life teaching school, and now she runs a charity that helps women and children who have nothing. Behind her house, there is an old barn, and she rents it to a man called Adam Clay. Clay keeps bees. That is what he does with his days. He works the hives, he moves slowly and deliberately, and he says almost nothing. There is a hornet nest on the property causing problems, and he deals with it without being asked and without making a thing of it afterwards. Eloise likes having him there. He is polite, he is useful, he never asks her for anything, and he never asks about her. She invites him inside for dinner. He brings her honey. It is not a romance, and it is not really a friendship. It is two solitary people who have quietly agreed to look out for each other, and it is the closest thing either of them has to family. That is the entire world of this film for its first 10 minutes. One kind woman, one quiet man, and a field full of bees. Then she opens her laptop. The pop-up is fake. The phone number is fake. The company on the other end of it, calling itself United Data Group, is a floor full of young men in headsets whose only job is to keep an elderly person talking long enough to get inside their computer. She calls. A man answers, friendly and unhurried, and he talks her through installing a piece of software that will supposedly clean her machine. What it actually does is hand him the screen. While he keeps her chatting, a team behind him is already inside, reading her files, opening her banking, working out exactly how much this woman is worth. And when they have the number, they pass her up the chain. The manager is a man named Garnett, and Garnett runs the part of the con that finishes her. He apologizes for the inconvenience. He tells her the company would like to compensate her for the trouble, and to do that, he needs her banking details. She gives them because she has spent the last hour being helped by these nice people. $50,000 appears in her account. Then Garnett calls back sounding sick with panic. He tells her he has made a terrible mistake. He was authorized to send $500, and he has sent $50,000 of the company's money, and it is going to cost him his job and possibly worse unless she returns it right now. She is a decent person. So she logs in to send it back. That is the trick. That was always the trick. The $50,000 was never real. It was her own money, moved between her own accounts to make a number appear on a screen. And the moment she is logged in to fix a mistake that never happened, with a stranger watching every keystroke, they take everything. Not just her savings, every account she can reach, including the charity. $2 million that was never hers, belonging to people who have nothing, gone in the time it takes to make a phone call. When it goes quiet, Eloise Parker sits alone in her kitchen and works out exactly what has happened. That it is not coming back, that there is nobody to call because she already called them, and that she will have to explain to the families who depend on that charity where their money went. She writes a note. She does not survive the evening. Clay finds her the next morning when he comes up to the house. This is where the film stops being about a scam. Eloise's daughter is an FBI agent named Verona Parker. She arrives to find her mother dead and a large silent stranger standing in the house, and she does exactly what any agent would do. She puts him in handcuffs. The forensics clear him within hours. It was a phishing scam, and it was a suicide, and the money left the country before anyone knew it was missing. There is no case here. There is no one to arrest. Verona sits in an interview room and is told, effectively, that her mother is a statistic and that this happens constantly, and that nothing will come of it. So they let Clay walk out of the building. That is the mistake, because the beekeeping is not a hobby he took up in retirement. It is the name of what he used to be. The Beekeepers are a program that sits outside the intelligence community entirely, not the FBI, not the CIA, not accountable to Congress, and not answerable to the president. Later in the film, a former director of the CIA admits, out loud, that when he was read into the classified programs he inherited, this one was not among them. He found out it existed the same way everyone else does. Their operating principle is a single idea. A country runs like a hive. It has workers, it has caretakers, it has royalty, and it functions because every part of it does its job. And when something gets inside the hive and starts eating it from within, and the ordinary systems cannot remove it, something comes in from outside and removes it. They do not investigate. They do not build cases. They do not arrest people. Clay is retired. He was, by every account in this film, the most effective one they ever produced. And a room full of men in headsets just killed the only person who was ever kind to him. Clay makes one phone call to an old contact and gets an address. Then he drives to the call center and walks in through the front door in daylight. Inside, there are 200 people at desks, headsets on, every one of them working the same script on some other pensioner somewhere. Nobody stops him. Nobody has ever needed to. The building has no security worth the name because the people inside it have never once been afraid of consequences. He tells them all to get out. Most of them run. The ones who stay to fight discover very quickly that this is not a robbery and that he is not there for the money. And there's something deliberate about how he does it. He is not indiscriminate. The young men on the phones he mostly lets leave because they are the bottom of the thing and they are replaceable, and killing them changes nothing. What he wants is the room itself, the equipment, the lists, and the man in charge of it. He works his way to the server room and douses it. And before he lights it, he makes the remaining staff say something back to him out loud, the way a teacher makes a class repeat a rule, that they will never again steal from people who cannot defend themselves. Then he burns the building down and walks out through the smoke while it comes apart behind him. Garnett tries to run. Clay catches him on the road and Garnett dies badly, and the film does not soften it. By the time Verona and her partner get there, an entire criminal operation has been reduced to a burning shell, and there is a man on the security footage who does not appear in any federal database anywhere. No service record, no fingerprints on file, no name that resolves to a person. She asks what he is. Nobody in the bureau has an answer for her. Here is the turn that makes this more than a revenge picture. That call center was not independent. It was one branch of an operation running dozens of identical floors, all of them feeding money upward into the same place. At the top is Derek Danforth. He is young, enormously rich, and completely insulated from everything he does. He runs the whole thing out of a legitimate-looking technology company, with sales targets and staff incentives and quarterly performance reviews, the way you would run any other business. He has never seen the face of a single person he has destroyed, and it has genuinely never occurred to him to wonder about one. His head of security is Wallace Westwyld, a former director of the CIA, now paid an extraordinary salary to keep this young man out of prison. Westwyld is the most interesting person in the film, because Westwyld is the only one who understands immediately what has happened. When he hears which building burned and who walked out of it, he does something nobody else in this story does. He becomes openly, visibly frightened. He tells Derek to shut every operation down, refund everything, disappear. He tries to explain that what is coming is not law enforcement, cannot be sued, cannot be bribed, cannot be arrested, and cannot be negotiated with, because it does not answer to anyone who could be reached. Derek does not believe him. Derek has money. So Derek hires mercenaries, 8 of them, ex-special forces, waiting at the next call center on the list. Clay goes through all of them, and the building burns too. With the mercenaries dead, Derek does the only thing he has left. He uses his family's influence to reach into the program itself and turn it around. If the only thing that can stop a beekeeper is another beekeeper, then they will simply activate the one currently serving. She is called Anazet, and she is extremely good. She is also, unlike Clay, still officially on the books, which means when she comes for him, she does not come alone. She arrives with federal backing, with air support, with the full machinery of a government that has been quietly told this man is a domestic terrorist. It is a genuinely clever move by Derek, and it is also the moment the film makes its point clearest. The program exists to protect the hive from things the ordinary system cannot reach, and the first thing a rich enough family does when that program turns towards them is reach into it and point it somewhere else. Meanwhile, Verona is running her own investigation and getting somewhere nobody wants her to get. Her mother's money did not vanish into some faceless syndicate on the other side of the world. It went to an American company. A large one, well-connected, politically protected, with lawyers and lobbyists, and a name people recognize. She traces the ownership up through the shell layers, and she finds the Danforth name sitting at the top of it. And she is told, in extremely polite language by people who outrank her, to leave it alone. Not that she is wrong, just that she should stop. That is the second time in this film that the correct, legal, procedural answer to a murdered woman is for everyone to do nothing. Clay and Anacette finally meet, and it is the hardest fight in the film, and it does not end the way the people who sent her intended. Because somewhere in it, the current beekeeper works out what the retired one already knew. She has been aimed at the wrong target. The thing eating the hive is not the man burning down call centers, it is the family that owns them. And now the film shows what it has actually been building. Derek Danforth's mother is Jessica Danforth. She is the President of the United States. The money Derek has spent years vacuuming out of pensioners did not just buy him houses and parties. It funded her campaign. The data his call centers harvested did not just empty accounts, it was used. Every dollar taken from a woman like Eloise Parker went into the machine that put a president into office. That is what Clay has walked into. Not a scam that bought the country. And there is a piece of beekeeping the film has been quietly setting up this entire time. In a hive, if the queen begins producing damaged offspring, a worker will rise up and kill her. There is no vote, there is no hearing, the colony does not debate it, she is removed, because if she is not, the whole hive dies. That is what a beekeeper is for, that is the job. Westwyld understands this before anyone else in the building. He makes one final attempt to make Derek grasp that no amount of money, no security detail, and no surname is going to matter here, because the system that is coming for him was designed specifically for people the ordinary system cannot touch. Derek does not listen. Derek has never once in his entire life experienced a consequence, and he cannot imagine one now. The last act takes place at the president's beachfront house during a private event, with Secret Service on every entrance and the entire security apparatus of the country in place. Clay gets in underneath a delivery truck. What follows is him moving up through that building floor by floor, past agents who are not doing anything wrong and who he has no real interest in killing, toward one room and one person. Verona is already inside. She has finally been handed the full picture, and she is standing in front of a choice she has spent the whole film walking towards, which is whether the law she has served her entire career is going to do a single thing about the people who killed her mother. She already knows the answer. Clay reaches Derek Danforth, and the film does not give him a fight or a speech or a chance to explain himself. It gives him about 4 seconds to understand that the abstract problem he has been paying other people to handle has arrived in the room. Then it is over. Clay walks out onto the sand with every agent in the country behind him and goes into the water. Verona stands on the beach with her weapon up and a clean shot at his back. He surfaces once. She lowers it, he goes under, and he is gone, and nobody follows him. What makes this film work is not the fights, though the fights are good. It is that the crime underneath it is completely real. Americans lost over $12.5 billion to fraud in a single year, and that figure climbed by roughly a quarter in 12 months. The people running it are not criminal masterminds. They are bored young men in an office with a script and a daily target, and they target the elderly deliberately, because older people are polite and trusting and will stay on the line rather than be rude to a stranger. Almost nobody is ever arrested for it. The money is gone within minutes and lands somewhere no one is coming to retrieve it from. There is no Adam Clay. There is no secret program. Nobody burns the building down. That is the fantasy the film is selling, and it is why it made $162 million against a $40 million budget, and why a sequel is on the way. It was never really about bees. It is about the fact that a decent old woman can lose everything she has to a man in a headset. And the honest answer to what happens next is nothing at all, unless somebody decides otherwise. If you want another one where a whole building turns on the people inside it, the Concrete Utopia recap is on the channel now. One earthquake, one surviving apartment block, and a vote on who deserves to stay in it. See you there.